Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming.
Well, you can tell who's from Florida, the one that forgot their sleeves.
We've seen a lot of each other over the last year, and really got to know him. He did my Feenstra family picnic in May. Then it was a little warmer, a little different weather, but now you're seeing what Iowa all has, right? I mean, the warm weather to a little cooler today. So.
Well, we were in Sioux City. We flew in late last Friday night. Saturday morning, we had our 3 kids, a first grade kindergartner, pre-K, Florida born and bred, had never seen snow before. So they wake up at 5:30 in the morning, look out the window, they see snow, and all of a sudden, you know, Katie barred the door, they wake up their mom and dad, and they had to go out there and do it. So they've now been able to throw some snowballs, hit me, hit their mother, and they told me, they're like, Daddy, you know, we like the snow better than the beach. And I'm like, oh, so that means you don't want to live in Florida anymore? They're like, no, we want the snow in Florida. I'm like, it doesn't work that way, kids. You got to make a choice.
Well, they could come and live here if they wanted to. Right? Well, I just want to talk, obviously, this is our Faith and Family event. And I want to just ask you, you know, growing up, both of you, what did your faith and family mean to you? And how does that apply and shape how you serve our nation and serve your state?
Well, for me, faith in God is really the foundation of how I live my life, but also how I conduct myself in an elected office. When you're doing what's right, when you have your compass set to true north, every single day in this process, media, opposition, everything, it's all designed to push you off course. It's all designed to divert you from being able to achieve what you're looking to achieve. And so having that foundation of faith in God is really what keeps you centered, and what allows you to keep that compass set to true north, especially when you're dealing with things where you're taking a lot of incoming. I mean, during COVID, we had to take a stand in Florida. We believed, contrary to the Faucis of the world, that kids should be in school, that we should have the businesses open, that we should be not forcing people to take these vaccines. And we got pilloried for doing that. And a lot of people said you're making mistakes because you're getting hammered. But you know, you got to kind of look beyond that moment. And you got to know that ultimately God has a plan for this, and let the chips fall where they may. I don't know that you're able to do that if you don't have that foundation of faith in God. So when people ask me about, hey, what do you recommend in terms of leadership? Well, what should people think about? I think there's a lot of things, but what I tell people, first, put on the full armor of God.
I think that's so true. And you know, our daughter the other day had a homework assignment, and it was to memorize Ephesians 6, 10 through 18. And I don't think that was a coincidence, because he invokes putting on the full armor of God, the belt of truth, and the shield of faith. And, you know, I think that everything that we do, and particularly for me when I was going through some pretty significant health challenges, having that foundation of faith, knowing that I'm not in control, that there is a higher being, gave me the ability, plus having a really great husband who helped me every step of the way through 6 rounds of chemotherapy, 3 surgeries, and 6 weeks of radiation. But having that foundation really gave me the strength. And another thing about my faith, going through what I went through with my medical problems, you know, I never would have thought that I would have come out stronger on the other side. I don't think that there's a lot that I would be able to do today had I had not gone through a lot of that. And I would never wish what I went through on anyone. It was awful. But it's amazing that the Lord really works in mysterious ways to put you in positions to be able to accomplish things He ultimately wants you to do.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we appreciate your thoughts on that. And Casey, we're just really thankful that you are able to come today with your husband, and we appreciate your willingness to sit down and visit with us. We know you have 3 small children, and being on the campaign trail is definitely a sacrifice for your family. Randy and I, like many families in our community, we keep very busy with our work, our kids' activities, and so we need to really, prioritize to make time with the family, spend time together making meaningful conversations, make sure you take the time to sit down with them, pray, read the Bible, attend church. So I know that is very important to the people of Iowa too. So Could you tell us what it's been like balancing your family life while campaigning and then fulfilling your duties as governor and First Lady of Florida?
Yeah, sure. No, I'm happy to do it. So this is one of the rare exceptions where they are not with us right now. They usually are with us wherever we go, and we feel that that's very important. Not only do we want to spend time with them, clearly, because if there's one thing that people say to me wherever I go, they say in a blink of an eye, they're going to be in college. Enjoy it. It goes fast. And so we want to be with them, but also this is an opportunity for them to understand what we're fighting for. We're fighting for their future, their ability to be able to accomplish the American dream, and really to understand our system, where our rights come from. They come from our Creator. The government's put in place to protect the rights that we innately have. It's never too early to start empowering our kids to understand they're the next generation that's going to inherit this republic. So they need to have a good foundation, and we do that. And so, it's funny with our son. He is the biggest Ron DeSantis fan you have ever met in your entire life. And so he's in kindergarten. So, you wonder when you're talking to your kids about the importance of the election and the importance, what dad is fighting for. And he will watch every debate. He will watch, interviews on YouTube. And so, again, you wonder, how much do they really resonate? He's in kindergarten. So one day I'm walking down the hallway, and Mason looks at me and he goes, "Mama?" I'm like, "Yeah, buddy." He goes, "Our nation is in decline." And I said, "Why, yes, it's true, Mason." But it's true. And on a funnier note, he was watching, so this is just a side note, he loves football. Green Bay, it doesn't matter. He loves the Jaguars. He loves the Bucks. You name it, he will watch, and he loves football scores. So no matter, he's always trying, he'll write them on a board, and he'll tell you the day after. He's better than Siri. He'll tell you who played Thursday Night Football and what the score was. And so there was a debate the other day against Gavin Newsom and, of course, and Ron. And so he was asking, he goes, "Did Dad win?" I go, "Yeah, buddy, Dad won." And he goes, "What was the score?" And I said, we couldn't even count it. It was so good. But no, we enjoy having them with us. These are very special times, and it's a blessing. I'm not going to lie, it's a little crazy though.
Well, so we've done events in all 99 Iowa counties, which is important. It's an important thing to do. And I would say our kids have been with us for clearly a majority of the 99 counties. And it's a type of thing where, as governor, one of the things I would always do, you can be very busy. I like to get out and do events in different parts of the state, particularly when we're pushing legislation. But I'd always make sure I got home at night. I very rarely stayed overnight anywhere else. And so we'd do that and get home for dinner, if not, before they go to bed. But even if I miss that, next morning when they wake up, just making sure that you're present and making sure that you're able to spend time. We've really worked hard to include them in this process, which is a crazy process. But all things considered, they've handled it very, very well. They're a little bit upset at me right now because we live in Tallahassee, which is where the governor's residence is, and they've become fans of Florida State football. And so a couple weeks ago, they were asking me about what was going to happen with the playoff, and I said, well, if Florida State just wins the remainder of their games, there won't be more than 4 undefeated teams, and so they will go to the playoff. That's what'll happen. And so Florida State won the rest of their games, ended the season undefeated. There were only 2 other undefeated teams, and yet Florida State got excluded from the playoff in favor of 2 one-loss teams, Alabama and Texas. And so my kids are telling me, "Daddy, you said they would make the playoffs. What happened?" And I don't really have a good answer for them for that. So if y'all can enlighten me on how this college football stuff works, that'd be helpful.
That is so funny. Maybe you want to tell them that maybe Florida State needs to join the Big 10 or the Big 12 or something like that. ACC. No, I'm kidding.
Well, but yeah, the thing is just that it's you do your thing. You win the games. I think because their star quarterback got injured. Yes. I think that was probably why they did that, and I get that, yeah. But nevertheless, and you got to think, we were in this debate the other night in Tuscaloosa for this Republican debate. And I'm there talking to these Alabama fans. They go to the playoff almost every year. Florida, when I was growing up, we were a college football machine between Miami, Florida, and Florida State. Right. It was like year in, year out, all these teams were competing. And then really in the last, seems like 10 years, yep. It's been difficult. My first year as governor, I told, because we have very good high school football in Florida, I told my staff, I want to write notes, congratulatory notes to every blue chip high school recruit on signing day. So they give me a stack, and I'm doing it, and it's like, you know, Dear Mike, congratulations on going to the University of Alabama. Dear Johnny, congratulations on going to Clemson. Dear Travis, congratulations on going to Georgia. And I'm like, wait a minute, why am I congratulating them for them leaving the state of Florida? We used to never lose recruits. It used to always be we would get the best recruits to stay in. So that's just how these things go. But nevertheless, it was a good season for them. But it does, it cost the university millions and millions of dollars to get excluded from that playoff.
I want to, you and I are similar in the fact that my motto, my slogan is delivering results for the people of the 4th District, delivering results for Iowans. And you have the same situation, delivering results for Floridians. Can you talk a little bit about the results that you delivered for faith, for family, since you've been governor of Florida?
Sure. So my view, as you know, you get elected to office, particularly an executive office like governor or president, you got to be right on the issues and the policy. I mean, we see somebody like Biden who's wrong on all this, it can do a lot of damage, but being right on the policy is not enough. You also have to be able to take that lead and implement that vision and deliver tangible results for people. So everything that I promised I would do for the people of Florida, I've delivered on 100% of those promises across the board. So you look at universal school choice, we beat the teachers union, and now every parent in Florida has an ability to send their kid to the school of their choice. Some of it is public schools within their school district, they have choice, they have charter schools, and then we have private scholarships where people can go. That's been a huge, huge boon to so many families. One of the things that we've done, and Casey was involved in pioneering this, is we wanted to be able to do things to help with child welfare, particularly for mothers, single mothers, who get caught up in the welfare system. And so instead of just going and getting a check and then coming back and getting another one, and that creates a certain cycle, Casey created something called Hope Florida, where she got churches and charities and businesses and individuals to plug into what's called the care portal. So if somebody shows up and they need something, maybe they have two twin daughters that are 1 year old and she just got kicked out of her apartment, that need will go and the churches will get it. And you'll have a church that'll come, bring that family in. And guess what? Once that happens, they don't go back for government assistance. They're on a pathway to prosperity. So these are difficult things where we've recognized that the faith community needs to be brought to the table to be able to deliver results for people. You cannot do it through a bureaucracy. That is not going to give anybody a path to independence. So we've worked very closely, and a lot of these blue states will not work with their churches. They view that as just totally unacceptable. We disagree. And the final thing I'll just say, we've been very strong at upholding religious liberty in the state of Florida. If you think about it, we have now situations where you have a football coach in Washington State, Coach Kennedy. He lost his job because he was going to midfield after the game to say a prayer. And a lot of players joined him, but it wasn't even required. You could do it or not. And he lost his job just by doing that. Goes to the Supreme Court. He wins a 6-3 decision to be reinstated. And people said that's a victory for religious liberty. But I would say to you, the fact that that case is even being brought, the fact that we're even in the Supreme Court for something like that, that shows you that religious liberty is not being honored in this country the way it is. And so in Florida, we believe as the founding fathers believed. Your right to practice your faith is not something that's given to you by government. It's something that's been granted to you by God. Government cannot infringe your free exercise. And yes, that means if you go to church on Sunday, but it also means you have the right to be able to live your faith out in society. Apart from that, I think what we're battling nationwide is a view of the left that they believe, they'll say that if someone mentions God in the public square or under God in the Pledge of Allegiance, that's, quote, an establishment of religion. That's not what the founding fathers believe. But they really want to establish religion. It's just a religion of secular leftism. And they want that to be the orthodoxy so that if you, as a Christian or another faith, If your faith conflicts with their agenda, they expect you to bend the knee. That is not religious liberty as our founding fathers understood it. We reject the left, what they're doing. In Florida, we reject that, but we need to make sure we have full religious liberty nationwide in this country.
Yep. Well, we absolutely believe we have to have religious freedom. I mean, that is paramount. It's in our Constitution. Lynette, I think there's a question from one of the students here at DOER.
Yes, we are so grateful for so many students and college students and high school students that are visiting today. So we want to give a shout out to you. And some of the students submitted questions, and so we're just very excited to have them engaged in the political process. And, you know, seeing their passion gives us hope, you know, for America's future. So our first question is from Matt Haken, who is a civil engineering major here at Dordt University. Matt, can you raise your hand, please? All right, this is Matt's question. Governor, our education at Dordt stresses the need for our Christian faith to inform all aspects of our lives, including when interacting with people we do not agree with. How will you show kindness and humility when working across the aisle while not wavering on your own convictions?
Well, it's a great question, and thank you for that. My philosophy has always been this. You know, I have very strong principles. I'm willing to go out and fight for that. I'm willing to go out and fight for the people that I represent, especially when it's not easy. And we have big battles that we fight. And fortunately in Florida, I've won those battles. I mean, we beat Fauci on COVID. We beat Soros on crime by removing some of these radical prosecutors. We've beat you know, the left on ensuring election integrity, and on down the line. And it's important that we actually fight and win. But what I also understand is, you know, you and I can be in a political battle over one issue today, but then 6 weeks from now, there may be another issue that maybe we are allied on. And so if you disagree with me 80% of the time, that's fine. And we can fight on those 80%. But if you agree with me on the 20%, I'm willing to put aside the previous disagreements and work with you on the other 20%. I think that's the way you're able to get more stuff done. I think that's, and honestly in Florida, if you look at a lot of the stuff we've done, as much as the media, anything we do, they try to mischaracterize or whatever. But a lot of our biggest initiatives, we're getting almost unanimous support in the legislature, some of the things that we've done. So I think that somebody who is willing to work on those issues. And then, of course, within kind of more on our side, not every Republican is going to agree with me 100% of the time. But my 80% friend is not my 20% enemy. I want to work with them. I want them on the team for that 80%. I just think that's a better model of leadership. I think we want to bring as many people into the fold as you can. You don't water down your convictions. We're not going to do pale pastels. We'll lead with what Ronald Reagan called bold colors. But we're also going to do it in a way that's maximizing our ability to build coalitions and deliver results.
Absolutely. Casey, I want to ask you a question. Lynette and I found that we grow closest to the Lord in hardships, and it's always tough. And I know you had your bout with cancer. I know you lost, I believe, a brother early on. And how does going through trials, what advice would you give to others that are fighting these battles right now? How does this help and grow your faith?
I mean, I think it's all about being rooted in faith and just having a strong understanding that, you know, you might not understand why something is happening, but just believe and stay strong and do everything that you need to do to go forward. And that, like I said earlier, ultimately you can come out stronger than you could ever have imagined, like I said. And so, you know, one of the things I've tried to do, particularly with the cancer battle in the state of Florida, is I was so blessed, I mean, beyond blessed during my difficult times, because people all across the United States literally were sending me letters and prayer verses and cards and have faith and stay strong and crosses. And it was overwhelming to the point where I was like, this can't just be for me. There are a lot of other people out there who are struggling too, who really could use these words of wisdom, and that they could really use that faith to be able to pick them up, to give them the courage to persevere. And so we started an initiative in Florida, and there's a lot of components to it, but one of which is to be able to provide an avenue electronically for people to be able to pray for others who are suffering. And also, you know, a lot of people who have been through stage 4, stage 3, stage 2, stage 1, to say, hey, listen, you know, I got through it, you can get through it too. It's going to be difficult, it's going to be tough, have faith, you can get through it. And so that's one of the things that we've really tried to do, but just being strong and rooted in that faith was what really, when it was going through tough times, what I fell into, and it saved me.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Governor, before we let you close, I want to ask you about a campaign video you recently put out. It noted that you and Casey had spent many weekends visiting churches throughout the state and for the need to acknowledge the truth. What have you learned from your experience traveling and meeting with Iowa's faith community, and what do you mean by we must acknowledge the truth?
Well, I think it's been great traveling Iowa, partially because you really, when you're in a position of being an elected official or a candidate, you can get lost in kind of media narratives, you can get lost in some of the stuff that people put out there, but you got to get underneath that and actually talk to the people that you're seeking to represent. And so the concerns, and when people are telling you things that they're concerned about or asking you questions, a lot of times that's not what you're seeing in kind of bright lights out of some of the elite media organizations. So there's a lot of value in doing that, and especially here in Iowa, because people are invested in the process of the caucuses. I think you see a lot of just decency, patriotism, God-fearing people that really love this country and want to see the country succeed, and don't like what they're seeing with everything that's gone wrong, particularly over these last 3 years. So I come out of it with actually a lot of optimism, because I think the backbone of this country is reflected by the people that I've met in Iowa. And it's that backbone of the country, those values that are represented there, that are ultimately going to lead this country into a strong revival. And that's what we need. I mean, we need this country to be reflective of its best principles and best values. And if we do that, we will succeed again.
Thank you.
Values are so key. We have to get values and family back into society and what's happening. So as we've got a few minutes left, all right, I want you to think about, what is your closing message? All right, what is your closing message to Iowans? January 15 is right around the corner. Well, we got 5 weeks left, thereabouts. We're in the home stretch. What do you want them to know most about you? And I'll ask Casey if you could talk about your husband first.
How much time do we have?
Yeah.
I got a lot to say.
Yeah. But if you could just summarize, and then I'll have obviously the governor take it from there. But what do you want them to know?
I mean, there's so much. I mean, obviously he's a dad of a 7, 5, and a 3-year-old. I mean, I would talk about his military experience when he went through 2 very liberal universities, Harvard and Yale, but came out more conservative on the other side. And he saw 9/11. He decided to commission as an officer in the United States Navy and serve, and actually go over to Iraq because he wanted to give back and fight for our first principles. I mean, I can talk about the fights, and he's talked a lot about beating Disney, beating the teachers union, standing up for what's right, delivering on 100% of his principles, and everything that he said he would do for the people of the state of Florida. But if there is one thing that I really want you to know about Ron DeSantis, is that, and this is particularly highlighted during COVID, because the world descended upon Florida. I mean, the left was coming after him, the media was coming after him, Republicans in Washington were coming after him, the CDC, the NIH, and it was relentless, day after day after day. It wasn't just coming after him in one news cycle and then they were on to the next thing. I mean, they never let up with some of the worst things you could possibly imagine about somebody. But he held true to what he knew in his heart was right. He stood up for the children to be able to be in school. He made sure that people were able to work to put food on the table for their families. He made sure that families could be with their loved ones in the final moments of their life. I mean, on and on it goes. Businesses, I mean, these big businesses were able to stay open, but these little guys, they were getting pummeled across the country, but not in Florida. He held the line. And so I say this, what you want in a leader in Washington is someone who's going to stand up and fight for you no matter how hard they're getting attacked. You want somebody, as Rush Limbaugh said on his final radio show before he passed away, he said, Ron DeSantis has an ironclad spine of steel, and that is the God's honest truth. This guy will never waver, he will never back down, he will never give up, and he will stand for the values and the principles that made this country great. And that is why I am out here every day of the week and twice on Sunday fighting for him. It's not because I'm married to him, that has nothing to do with it, because I feel like I have an obligation from what I have seen of him in front of the cameras and behind the cameras when it's tough. And I mean, I'm turning on the TV and it's not nice, but he never wavered and he was a rock. And that is exactly who you want fighting for you at this moment in our nation's history.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. That's passion. That is passion.
I'm just so proud of you.
I love it. I love it. Take us home, Governor. What do you want everybody to know as your final thoughts?
We need a strong two-term president like Ronald Reagan. So after serving you for 2 terms, I'll be able to look back on that and tell you that we've restored the American dream in this country. You're not going to be held down by inflation, interest rates, excessive bureaucracy, Green New Deal. We'll fix all of that. I'll be able to tell you that we've restored the sovereignty of this country. Drug cartels are no longer going to be ruling the roost. We're not going to have massive amounts of fentanyls and illegal aliens pouring in. We're going to be able to say we've revitalized our nation's military, fended off the threat posed by the Chinese Communist Party, and that the 21st century is still an American century. We'll be able to say that our school systems are now educating kids but not indoctrinating kids, that the rights of parents are respected, and that there's been a new emphasis on teaching kids about American civics and what it means to be an American. We'll also be able to say that whether you live in a red state or a blue city, criminals are held responsible for their crimes. The inmates are no longer running the asylum, and that every family has a right to raise their kids in peace and security. And then we'll be able to say that we've restored the U.S. Constitution to its centerpiece in our national life. We'll have a limited government that works alongside us, not an unaccountable bureaucracy that's weaponized against us, that imposes its will on us. We will have held all the agencies responsible for COVID accountable. We will have ended weaponization of agencies like the DOJ and the FBI, and we will have ensured robust religious liberty all throughout the land. And we'll be able to say more, but if we can just say those things, then we'll be able to say that we've restored America to what Ronald Reagan called the shining city on a hill. We cannot be the first generation of Americans to leave to our kids and grandkids an America less prosperous and less free than the one we inherited. That would be breaking faith with every generation of Americans that have come before us. And so, as the only veteran running in this race, part of my motivation is we've got young kids and we're looking for the future, but I also am conscious of the debt of gratitude we owe to people throughout our country's history who've put on a uniform, risked their lives, and in some cases given the last full measure of devotion for service to this country. We're not doing justice to their sacrifices if we don't turn this country around. So as your candidate, I will get the job done next November like I did in Florida. As a leader, I'll always conduct myself in a way that you can be proud of. And as a president, you'll be able to count on me. I will not let you down. Thank you all, and God bless.
My wife and I want to thank you for coming to our home area. We're so blessed for you to come here, and you came for my picnic. We're so very grateful. We will see each other more on the campaign trail over the next 5 weeks, and we humbly ask that you continue to come here even as the caucus leaves our state, that you don't forget about us in Iowa, and if you become president, that you're always close to our heart, and that Iowa always will mean something to you, hopefully. So thank you so much.
God bless you guys. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was fun. Is that good? Okay, thank you.